Like all things, some areas of the software seem to get more questions than others. What we've tried to do is to gather up all of those questions that are asked repeatedly, and they might be in several different places they could be. One is in the FAQ tab of the Unitech EDI wiki, and that lists a number of different situations, how to process POs, how to resend POAs, how to resend invoices, how to identify the EDI document version for a trading partner. And by clicking on that, it gives you a good rundown on how to respond should someone ask you that question. In addition, and the client also has access to that, the clients don't seem to use it as much. They would much rather just contact uh, Unitech support and get their answers, but it's good for us to have it out there, and some of them do use it. The tab right next to it is the top 10, and that lists the top 10 things to know. And based on our experience, we figured, we do a training with the clients, but we try and let them know that if you're just going to remember 10 things, this is the list. So for instance, how to send files to Unitech. And some of these are just text-based, some of them are text and screen captures, and some either are audio visual tutorial. So ideally, the information here should be enough for either a client to answer their own question or for a support staff member to learn about what needs to get done and do it. So the FAQ and the top 10 are both available to the client. On the right side of the wiki, there's a number of tabs that are only available to Unitech staff. So because of their password protected, the clients cannot see them. A lot of them, there is some overlap. For instance, in the how-to, there's a lot more questions there. These aren't just the most frequently asked ones. These are basically every one we can think of. So how to add a new Amazon SAN code, how to handle deposits in projects, how to respond to new prospect inventory, how to practice solving and logging cases. And once again, a combination of text and screenshots, and that should be very, very handy. In addition to just using the how-to list, which as you can see is pretty extensive, and we're adding to it every day, you could also do a search. So for instance, I'm going over to the search box and I'm typing in, let's say, PubNet, and hitting enter. And the wiki then comes up with a list of all matches to PubNet. The first matches are what it thinks is more likely the answer to your question, but it does give you a sentence or two for each topic so you can be the judge if that's really what you're looking for. So for the searching, it's really very simple. You just go up into the search box and type what you want. A list of search tips, this is very handy, is listed at the bottom of each page, each search page, and it just tells you the criteria that it uses, how you can use wildcards if you're searching for a very specific term enclosed in quotes. It's very similar to searching in Google and some of the other search engines. And the other very important tab for staff members, not available to clients, is the reference tab. And while the how-to tries to describe how to do specific tasks, the reference is more general context. So it doesn't exactly tell you how to do different things, but it gives you the context that is useful to figure out why you're doing those things. So there might be a question about the case quantity rounding logic. Some of these things might just come up once every month or once every 6 months. So here we try to put down here in a place that's accessible by all of the staff members, everything we know about the topic, and constantly add to it as much as we can. The types of questions that are asked varies. Some of them are very simple. Some of them can be very, very complex. Some of them can be answered in a word or two or an email. Some might take up to a full day of research and really a lot of thinking. What we've tried to do is break things down. So for level one support, which is what we're hoping for the level one staff members to be able to handle within the first 90 days, are the following 8 questions. What is my password? I forgot my password. Anything related to problems with a password request should be able to be handled without escalating to the next level. Is the value-added network up and running? It is rare, but sometimes both the ICC network or PubNet go down. The individual client is never really sure if it's a problem on their end where their internet connection went down, or if the problem is much bigger than that, that the whole van went down. Very similar to if the lights go off in your house, you're not sure if it's just your apartment that you need to change a fuse, or if that the entire city is out. So that type of question should be able to be answered. The SAN code stands for standard account number, which is the way that each book publisher and bookseller has a SAN code, and that's how they're identified in EDI. And our clients might call up and ask for the newest SAN for the newest Amazon distribution center that was set up. That's a very simple question. How do I know if an invoice number, specific invoice number, was processed? How do I log on to the ICC website? How do I register my file viewer? Then getting into a little bit more complicated. How do I restore a Cat's Pajamas POA export file from the WCopy folder? That might sound complicated, but it's actually very simple. And once you can identify which customer it is, the answer to that really becomes a sentence or two. And another very common question we get is, what do I need to do to switch Unitech EDI software to a Windows 7 PC? And without having to get to be very, very technical, the answers to that and all the other questions here are basically scripted. So the answers are here. It's just a matter of looking up the answers and answering them. Questions can get very complex. Publisher could send an invoice to Amazon and the entire batch was rejected, and the problem might be with one single invoice, but the what needs to get done is to figure out where the problem is, why the problem happened, and most importantly, how to resolve it. So the questions really do range from the simple to the more complex. In the very beginning, we're just hoping for strictly the level one questions to be answered, without assistance. And as time goes on, more and more should be able to be answered.